So here we are in orientation week in coach certification training. And we're in T minus 3 days and counting before we begin. And so if you're catching this live accidentally, then first thing I want to just explain is that certification training is an advanced training where people get their initial coach certification very quickly. I mean, we really dive deep for 4 solid weeks and go on kind of a sprint slash marathon into the most advanced realms and what I like to call disciplines, because they are disciplines. They are very specific strategies or approaches, overall approaches to offering value to your clients. And so it takes real discipline to kind of feed that particular approach to modify your style and adapt into what I would, again, call a discipline. So we're really learning these disciplines for the first time, and you get a certification as a result of that, and you can go out and actually practice. Hey, Lynn, good to see you. So look, anyway, so if you're not in certification, that's what this is. We're getting started in a couple days, so if you want to join us, please DM me, let me know, and I'll give you the details for it. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get rolling here, because the purpose of these live streams is primarily to fill in the cracks, to take the time that we just don't have when we're in the middle of a training session or we're hustling through this sprint of a training to get you to the point where you're certified. And so I really want to give you additional detail, additional understandings, and additional color and additional shadings to the kind of the black and white and the more angular understandings that we get when we spend 2 hours diving into a specific discipline, and really 2 to 3 days really wouldn't truly do it justice. So you get a taste of these disciplines and then you get to go practice them, but I want you to get more. I want you to really have everything you could possibly have so that you can powerfully flex your muscles through these different disciplines. And really, before we're starting, I mean, this is orientation week. Before we're starting, this is a chance to get ready, to be prepared. And although it's not sexy, as I like to say, the angles that we need to draw, the geometry that we need to draw, the bare bones that we need to create so we can put a house around that, or put muscle and skin around that to make it a body of coaching work, that really is needed. Because, I mean, if I didn't have my skeleton, even though it's not the most important part of me, I would fall on the floor. So we're drawing that skeleton here. So today we're going to talk about how to get the most out of your certification. So good to see you guys. And this is going to be a short one, by the way. We're just going to blaze through this. But we've talked about some of the things to do to prepare. Sometime this week in orientation week, we had orientation, and you probably already know what you need to do to get ready. But I figured, and I was thinking about this, just because you know what to do, have you ever noticed that common sense is not so common, as they say? That just because we know what to do doesn't mean that we do what we know, So it's one thing just to, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. These are my marching orders. And it's another thing to actually know why and really appreciate and understand, like, this is what this is going to do for me in this training. This is what this is going to get me. This is how much farther down the road I get as a result of doing what I've already been asked to do. And then, of course, there's an even farther road to go when you do it, when you actually play full out and follow through on all of this stuff with flying colors, not just like begrudgingly doing it, but like doing it at the deepest and the most solid level possible for you, like the greatest expression of what you can actually provide in those kind of hoops I've set up for you. By the way, in the coming days, before we start, I'm going to actually share with you, it's a little bit of preview here. I'm going to share with you what I call the coach's journey, which is it's a series of kind of universal experiences that every master coach goes through on their journey to mastering certain elements of their craft. And that's what I'm really excited about, because it's kind of an intuitive and more spiritual look at what you're going through and what you I hope that you go through in your journey in certification. But we're going to set that aside for now. That's kind of the more magical look at magical angle on what we do here in Orientation Week. So today, this is just really how to get the most out of certification. I'm just going to give this to you really, really straight and simple, but I'm also going to explain the why behind it as we talk through this stuff. So I actually do have some visuals for you that I prepared. Pretty basic stuff, but will help keep me honest as in terms of what we're going to do here. So this is it. This is how to get the most out of certification. What I've found is that, like, when I go through a training and I really follow everything that the trainer offers me and I just go full out, it's amazing. I mean, it's magical what you can get nowadays. I mean, you can watch a tutorial video on, like, my wife brought jackfruit home from the grocery store, and she's showing me this stuff, and I'm like, wow, look at this. We've never prepared this before, and we had jackfruit tacos tonight, and it's like, how did that happen? Well, we went on YouTube, we found some tutorials, she followed directions, and we had this amazing experience, right? I mean, like, you couldn't have done that 20, 30 years ago. We wouldn't even have known that this thing that they call a fruit, that you're supposed to cook it like it's meat, rather than like eating it like cantaloupe or something like that. We wouldn't have had any clue. We'd have to go to the library to figure it out. Of course, none of our friends would know, even talking to them. So it's just insane what you can actually create in your life nowadays, because knowledge is no longer an issue, right? You can access all the knowledge available. It's called Google and YouTube and other tutorial level platforms. And if you want to produce a result, like in your financial life, let's say, or your career, or the way that you generate value for yourselves and others, if you want to generate new results with your body or your longevity or your energy, or how you appear to other people physically, it's just like, I mean, it's amazing how much you can access, right? If you want to create better relationships with friends, family, loved ones, intimacy, etc., there is basically unlimited information out there as to how to do that. And if you go through more of a training rather than just a tutorial, like something where somebody gives you information and knowledge, because that's a nice start. But if you actually take a real training where somebody gives you the steps and says, this is what to do. I've been where you are. I've gotten to where I want to go. I've gotten to where you want to be. And so this is what it took to get there. Right? And I've taken hundreds of people there. So just follow these steps and you'll get there. If you actually followed those steps, you would just get there. Right? You're actually going to get there. Now, it might take years. I mean, time and immediacy is not necessarily still a guarantee. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people end up failing anyway, right? They get in lag time and they're like, it doesn't work, or I'm tired of this, or I'm bored, right? And they miss out on their dreams. They miss out on what the promise of that training was, the promise maybe I'm giving you right now, because they just kind of fell out. I was looking at a roster today because I had to email this reminder to you guys that we were doing a live stream. And, Kim and Jan Marie, our course supervisor team, they red stripe anybody who's out of the training. So I know, like, hey, this is who's a part of this and this is who's not. And it's like we literally haven't even started the training yet, and yet we already have, I think, one red stripe. Like, how did that happen? I'll tell you how that happened. How that happened is lag time, limiting beliefs, somebody not wanting to actually do what is available to them, right? Like, just one of those things. I mean, it's not that complicated. And so whoever that is, nothing for or against them or anything, no judgment on my part, but they will miss out on the results that are promised in this training, just like they may have missed out on the kind of results that other trainings and other information offers people universally nowadays. And there's almost no limitation to how far you can go. So coming back full circle here, the point is I've already shared this stuff with you, but I really want you to understand what this is about, why this makes a difference, and how it's going to directly benefit you during certification. Partly so, you like actually care and you understand and appreciate, like, why am I doing this, right? I'm not just jumping through some hoops blindly. But secondly, because I know if you do this stuff, you're going to get the result that I promise. You will be trained and well versed enough in these most advanced disciplines of coaching that I've ever come across, looking at thousands of amazing coaching disciplines over the years, and the ones that I've seen that actually matter to my clients. You're actually going to learn those things, and you're going to be able to use them with any client that you choose. Like, that's the promise of this, and get certified in that as well, right? So, oh, and by the way, let's see, I'm just reading this. Locate your website. I hope to get your certificate. Yeah, right. So, so we have them in the fall. So it'll be like fall 2021 if you wait until then. But yeah, you can actually participate in this one, and even if you don't finish your coursework, you can always finish it later if timing is an issue anyway. But anyway, neither here nor there. Sorry, I was just caught up in some chatting here that we're doing online, which is always nice to have a little bit of interaction here. I appreciate that. So anyway, bottom line is I want you to do this, but I also want you to know why you're doing it, so you're not just like, oh, I have to do this. Why the heck am I doing this as well? Which will really make sure that you get what's promised in the training and you get the most out of it as well. Because the real promise here is that you're going to learn this stuff. You're going to be able to do it with your clients. But beyond that, you will be forever transformed. You will have breakthroughs through this training as a result of not just learning these disciplines and using them with others, but the coaching you'll be receiving as well, which you'll see actually happen. And I think those breakthroughs are just as valuable as having some skills that you can use as a coach, and ultimately having like a shingle to hang on your wall so everybody like can ogle them as well. So let's get into this. First thing you need to do, I should have like something to write with just in case. First thing you need to do is take your assessments. So you've got your, before we even get to the details of this, so the point of the assessments, part of the point of these assessments is to help us understand you, to help me and my staff understand you. Now, we have master coaches that'll be working with you throughout this training. You'll have one or two at least that you'll be working with in your groups and possibly interfacing with one-on-one as well. So we only got 4 weeks together, right? We don't have like 2 years of coaching relationship runway to go down. This is a very short set of interactions, frankly. It's a sprint, like I said. So I want to make sure that I can offer you transformation, offer you breakthroughs, and also that my master coaches that are going to be teaming up with you can also offer you that as well, because we want to be able to coach you the best that we can. And although if we had, 4, 5, 6 sessions with you over a period of a couple months, we could probably still do what we're intending to do just in this 4 weeks, but we only got 4 weeks. So the way that we accelerate our ability to deeply understand who you are, what makes you tick, how you think, what drives you, what your tendencies and styles are, what your real goals are, what your focus is in your life right now, like where your time and your energy goes, and then really what are your deepest, most kind of invisible psychological drivers, and how all that fits together so it could possibly transform for you. Not to mention, so you can use that eventually, because you've done it for yourself, to make a difference with others. Like, we need some help, because we don't have 6 hours just to hang out and just talk to you alone. This is a training, not just, not a coaching program, right? So that's a big part of why we need you to take these assessments like now, so we can really understand you. And so me and our master coaches and I can coach you the best possible way we can in a very short period of time. Part of what's exciting about this is the acceleration of the experience that you're going to have here as well. All right, so let's get into the details of these assessments. So first, we've got your life blueprint here. And this assessment is leveraged more than anything for the strategy discipline. This is the discipline where we understand internal psychological strategies, your internal psychology, your internal mindset, belief systems, value systems, emotional systems, spiritual systems, the way that your inner drives, what is at the like the center of your nature, so to speak. And then also, what's the basis of that? Like, what's the story arc that you've been living through that has you wired up that way as well? Because people really have like two different aspects of them, right? This is a little bit of a preview into what we're going to be doing in strategy week. They have their story, right? Like their backstory, the ups and downs that they've gone through in their life, their victories and failures, and the ones that are the most emotionally compelling for them and others as well. Now sometimes that's emotionally compelling because it's emotionally painful. Sometimes it's emotionally compelling because they were, heights of ecstasy for them, right? Sometimes it's a combination of that. But the story arc that somebody lives is not only a background, but there's also how they project that story into their future. Because whatever story you've had in your past that's the most emotionally compelling, we basically just create our future around that. And that's not because it has to be our future, but it's because emotionally that's what we can comprehend. Somebody grew up in a gang or grew up in the third world, right? And violence was a way of life, or stealing was a way of life, or lying was a way of life, right? Like, that's going to be projected in their future. Now, I can't tell you whether or not that would be projected in their future by modeling it and extending it and doing more of it, saying, I'm going to just lie more. I'm going to be more violent because that's all I know, right? Or if the way it's projected into somebody's future is by rejecting that, right? Divorcing themselves from that, separating themselves from that, escaping that, or maybe even fighting it, right? These are all variations on the divorce, right? The separation from the past. So some people embrace their past and are like, I want to live more of that. Even if they don't like it, they might embrace it like that's me, right? It becomes their identity. Or they run from their past. They're like, I got to get away from that. And sometimes it's a combination in different areas, different contexts. But we want to understand that story, and you're going to actually share that with us in your life blueprint. Now, the other side of the life blueprint is understanding what impact has that story had, and what are the inner beliefs, values, drives, ways of aligning your emotional priorities, as well as your focus and your goals, desires, and current life situation, if you will. How is all that currently wired up in your brain? How are you kind of pre-programmed, if you will, right? Now, again, that came from a story, right? And it's also projected in a story of the future too. But we also just want to know what that operating system is. Like, I'm on a Mac OS right now. So there's a story behind that OS, right? That's running the reason why I can be on an image, hopefully a high def, high quality image and audio that's extended into the universe that somebody could watch over all these networks right now. There's the operating system that makes that work. Steve Jobs and Wozniak and the team at Apple, and not to mention the guys that created the internet and browsers and Chrome and all the other like layers of that. There is a lineage of all that. Somebody created, C++, and then they created BASIC, and then they created compiler languages, and then they created binary. I don't know how I'm not an expert in that, right? But they built, it's like there's an archaeology behind this that's behind what this is today. But now you could, that's gone. That past doesn't exist. There is no going back in time. In physics, there is only what is. Right? So even though it's a likely story that I can explain, the reason why we're talking here is because of these people doing these things, and they had the stone tablets, and they chiseled the code in the stone tablets, and then you got kind of like technical Moses on the mountain bequeathing these OSs to us. But the bottom line is, we don't need you anymore. I don't need the predecessors in order to have this. And the reason I know that is because that past doesn't exist anymore. It literally is disappeared. All that there is this. And people will say, well, this is because of the past. Really? Well, show me where the past is then. Because in physics, it doesn't exist, okay? I mean, we basically know that in most of accepted physics. I know quantum physics, they'll talk about past, present, and future existing all in one kind of universe, right? But we're not going to get that esoteric here. In actual physics that we use to build bridges and build computers and cure diseases and stuff like that, like the current most useful, provable logic that we have, there is no past needed to have what we have here. There's just what is right now. So we also want to know in this blueprint, what is the what is, right? What is the physics of who you are today? What's the physics of how you feel today? What's the physics of what makes you do what you do today or not do what you don't do today? What's the physics that drives you forward and the physics that holds you back? And there's always a little bit of each, right? So that's where the blueprint comes in. It really helps us understand you from those perspectives. And we're going to talk about how these different aspects of a person impacts their entire life, right? Like their experience of their life, whether they're depressed or joyful, their actions in their life, whether they're successful or a failure in their relationships and finances and career and health and all that stuff. Because it all comes down to what we call your strategy. And that's why we call the discipline strategy, the strategy coaching discipline, right? So we understand by reading this blueprint what your strategies are inside of yourself, also some of your external strategies, so your desires there, and a little bit of the story behind that as well, and usually how you projected that story into the future. So you will actually see, if you do this, if you take this blueprint now, because we have to have it now. In fact, I think we're like a couple days after the deadline for this matter. But if you get it in now, it's not too late. But we need some time with this blueprint. It's like 13 pages long. Okay, it's going to take you maybe an hour or two to fill it out. It's going to take us more than that a lot of times to consolidate it, understand it, and digest it. And I got to look at all these too. So you're going to see how all of this connects. You're going to connect these dots into the strategy discipline, so you'll be able to use this not just on yourself to see what makes you tick, but anyone on earth that you can communicate with. That's the power of just taking this blueprint. If you don't take it, we can't get to that level with you of experiential learning, and you won't get it as deeply. You'll get the theory behind it, but you really won't get it in experience. And as it says in my notes here, you'll watch and experience even deeper breakthroughs so you can pass that on. Because we're going to go deep with you, but we can only go deep with you in this short period of time if you let us, by going deep in your blueprint. So we'll take that and we're going to run with it, with your support and with your help, either from me in the training rooms that we'll be working together in, or from my master coaches that'll be working with you in breakouts, smaller groups, and to some extent one-on-one as well. So that's the whole point of your life blueprint. So do it. I know it's an investment. It's an investment of like an hour, 2 hours for some of you. Depends on how long you have to really think about it to really put down what's accurate and kind of your full story and your full workup. But I can promise you it'll make a difference. And we've done this for a decade now. And I know what happens when we get that blueprint. It's tremendous what you can do. So second assessment is your psychographic profile. And your psychographic profile is really there to support us in a very specific discipline of coaching called the assessment coaching discipline. Now, as I just mentioned, we run these assessments with you so we can do what usually would take 4 years with a client, if ever, in 4 weeks. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that when you learn what you can use this tool for within your own practice, because you can actually license the use of this tool with us. It's something that people take online. You don't even have to have any skills in order to look at the results, and it'll translate a lot for you very quickly. You can do the same thing. You can actually accelerate and do what usually would take like 4, 5, 6 sessions in 1 or less, for that matter, sometimes in 4 or 5 minutes. So the psychographic profiling tool is a great accelerant of your coaching abilities with any client, and it's tremendously impressive and magical when you demonstrate that. So I want you to be able to use that tool, and you'll have access to it, but I want you to take it for yourself first so you can connect the dots more deeply before you use the tools with your clients. Because I know if you see these results for yourself, and I'm going to be talking with you about what your results actually are, you're going to be saying things like, I can't believe he knows that about me already. I mean, that's exactly me. Or you're going to actually learn something about yourself that maybe you felt deeply for years, but you never were able to put your finger on exactly what that was. So it's going to create clarity where it was kind of blurry for you, or create awareness where there was no awareness in the past. And when you can experience that for yourself and have those breakthroughs for yourself, you can connect those dots so deeply for yourself. I know you're going to be excited to connect the dots for your clients. This is one of the fastest ways you can get somebody into coaching. It's run an assessment on them, do a debrief with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, how do you know me so well? And of course, if they know what you know about them and you've created that awareness for them, and they know that you are on the same page with them, you're the first coach they're going to ever want to work with, right? I mean, why would they go anywhere else? Because you know them better. And when people, here's the thing, here's a little marketing trick for you. Not really like we're supposed to be talking about that right now. But when you can explain and sort out someone's issues, problems, limitations, challenges, and goals more clearly and more understandably, with more depth than your client can, than your prospective client can, they automatically believe that you have what it takes to help them actually achieve their goals. Now, by the way, maybe you would whether or not you did that, but if they don't believe you can help them, are they going to enroll? Of course not. And by the way, if they don't believe you can help them, but they still enroll in coaching with you, you probably won't be able to help them there very much, because their beliefs are limiting them in their ability to relate to you in the coaching relationship. So you're kind of screwed either way. But when they believe you can help them, they're like, okay, take my money. Here's my credit card number. I'm ready to roll. And because whatever skills you have will impact them the most, because they believe in what's possible from you helping them. It's just unstoppable what you can do. I mean, half the problem for coaches is not their skills. It's the marketing equation of people actually believing this coach actually can make a difference. People find some guru and they read their book, and the book didn't really even say anything, but they change it because the guru wrote it and they believe in the guru. That's part of the guru model of coaching, frankly. So we can leverage that a little bit here, utilizing psychographic tools for helping us get our client before they even sign up. And that's a phenomenal way to enroll clients, not to mention cause breakthroughs for them as well. And then also, at least in these different weeks, when we cover strategy coaching, the last week of training, and when we cover assessment coaching, the third week of training, you're not eligible to get coaching with me in the training session unless you've taken these. Okay, so take these assessments just so you can be eligible to actually work with me, because I can promise you there's going to be breakthroughs available in the conversations that you will have with me. In fact, the general promise I used to make, I don't say this anymore because I'm really not kind of marketing myself as a one-on-one coach anymore. But when I used to be out there marketing my practice, I used to say, look, you have a coaching session with me, you're going to have greater and more breakthroughs and more in-depth breakthroughs in that one conversation than any other conversation you've had with another human being in your entire life, right? And I delivered on that promise all the time, right? Now, part of that is because I understood the technology, and then sometimes part of it was because I had this information on people that I worked with. And so for the purpose of having the best demonstrations during certification, I'm only working with those that actually take their assessments. I don't work with you if you don't. That's the ticket in, at least during those particular weeks where I got to demonstrate this stuff. So I need the best information so I can just, I want to give you guys the best show and the best experience of seeing somebody have breakthroughs when it's done masterfully. And I've got the backup to make it so I could do it in a single session without question. I mean, there's no doubt that I'm going to be able to do that, especially with these. I mean, these are kind of like crutches for me, right? But I might as well have them, and I know I have a choice to do it. So take these assessments if you want to have access to me during the training. Let's see. Okay, so anyway, those are the assessments. Now let's move down to this area here. This is our new slide. And you're here becoming a coach, or you're getting certified as a coach, or you're taking on this coach identity, right? And so what we want to do is put as much power into you as humanly possible. So how do we do that? First of all, I want you to learn everything you can, right? I want you to learn this stuff. You're going to get knowledge primarily from the video tutorials. That's what this says here. I know it's not the most clear for the angle that we have, but video tutorials is what this is, a video right here. So when you do this, you're going to learn what you need to learn. So you're ready to connect the dots. Now, just learning this stuff doesn't mean you connect the dots. It's like I could read a book on music theory and I don't necessarily understand music. You could read a book about, I don't know, basketball. It doesn't mean you've connected the dots on basketball yet. You just got some theory, right? That gives you some initial comfort with the subject matter. It helps you kind of believe in what you're doing, and beliefs are an operational substitute for real life experience. So you haven't experienced it yet. You're just learning the theory. You're kind of watching it happen, and you're learning the information. But you can start to say, hey, I can see why that would work. I believe that makes sense. I believe that those dots connect for me. And that becomes like before you can actually have an experience, because you can't just have an experience automatically immediately. So when you have a belief, though, like I believe in that, I believe this is possible, I believe this is doable, I believe this works, it substitutes for real life experience. You fill in for your experience with that belief. And if you don't have a belief, you probably never even get the experience because you don't have enough of a substitute for that experience. I'll give an example. When you were 10 years old, or I don't know, nowadays it's probably 5 years old, 6 years old, something like that, your mom or your dad or someone who was around you taught you how to ride a bike. And the reason why you got on that bike and you fell off and fell off and fell off before you actually could ride it is because mom or dad or someone said, you can do this. I believe in you. People ride bikes. Let me show you. I can ride a bike. They talk a little bit about the theory of it. And that was just enough for you. That was an operational substitute for real life experience called a belief, right? Maybe you'd never be able to ride a bike, and before there were bikes, nobody could ride bikes, and it was the same DNA, right? But you believed it enough so that you were willing to try. You were willing to even go through pain, failure. When you fall off the bike, it's not exactly like a good experience. I think when my daughter first attempted to ride a bike, she kind of not skinned her knee, but she kind of fell off a little bit, and it was scary for her. And she was on the ground and that kind of thing. And so that was enough for her. She was like, I'll never ride a bike. I can't do this. Forget it. That's it. Right? And then, like the next week she was riding a bike, no problem, right? But she had to have enough belief to try it and go through pain, right? And what we're going to talk about tomorrow, by the way, in the coach's journey, and talk about the spiral dynamics of the journey that you take to journey outward as a coach, to raise your level of consciousness as a coach, to bring back the victories and the treasures that the coaching adventure can provide you, and then ultimately to come back to the center of your own existence, to retrace your steps. That's all tomorrow, or whenever day we're going to do this, T-1 or 2 days. That journey, half that journey is what we call going into the abyss. Half that journey is pain. Half that journey is, as the wisdom traditions would say, you facing your shadow self, which really just means facing the parts of you that you divorced yourself from, facing the parts of you that you hate to even imagine are there, and going there and dealing with that, and not necessarily embracing it, but at least experiencing that shadow self. And the coaches that do it, they spiral upward, and they ultimately succeed, and they master themselves, they master coaching. The coaches that never do that, they don't even get off the starting blocks. So part of the reason why we learn this is so that you have enough belief so you're willing to actually experience it. So coming back to learning it. I think I actually covered that. I beat that horse to death, didn't I? Okay, I did. So there we are. We're at experiencing it. So how you're going to do that is you're going to, first of all, watch what I do during the training sessions. Second, you're going to watch what the master coaches do during the groups as well. But you're also going to have a chance to experience coaching directly from me. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this with everybody necessarily, but I can do it with a few. And the only way that I'm going to be coaching you during the live training sessions is if you fill out your health form and you fill out your recording release. And the reason behind the health form is that I don't want to be coaching anybody who's not like mentally and physically healthy enough to deal with my coaching, because I don't pull punches, especially in here when people are watching and it's like, hey, I need to be demonstrating like the absolute best expression of what's possible here. And you're a part of that. Like you're my partner in that, right? So if somebody's not mentally or physically healthy, it's just not a good idea to put you in front of a group and have you be coached in that way. And so we got to make sure that I just want to make sure that you're safe and that I'm not doing anything that could somehow compromise your mental or physical health during this training experience. That's number one. Number two is you got to fill out the recording release. And the reason for that is that this is not just in you receiving the coaching, although you can experience it, and that's partly for you. The greater mission here is that I am able to share it with our students. And if I can't share with our students, it's like, like if you're not one of my paying one-on-one clients or in the Synergy program, in the private client program, it's not worth it for me to take that time with you. Not because I don't care about you, but because the mission here with the training sessions is to make sure that others can see the example of you transforming and the example of the coaching that actually triggered that to happen. So I have to be able to utilize that. I need your permission to do that, of course, within ethics and integrity and reasonability. Like you got to trust that I'm going to use that with like ethically, and I'm not going to like expose your secrets or something like that, which I would never do. But bottom line is I need to have carte blanche to make those decisions on my own within our student body and for our students so that I can serve them, not just you. So this is about serving the greater good, and I just won't work with you if I don't get those forms, right? So that's why you got to fill out those forms. And again, we've talked about this, so hopefully you know what those are. So that's part of you experiencing it, and I think that's everything on this page. I think I have to change. I have to transform our flip chart. So Rosalie says the 4-minute mile is one of the most powerful examples. Yeah, that was a belief thing, right? It wasn't physically that people just got better right after the 4-minute mile was achieved. They believed it was possible and they'd never done it before, but that belief substituted for their real life experience, right? And then it happened. I can't remember the name of the guy, but we talk about it during core transformation when we're in the on-site and also in strategy training as well. There is, I think it's Billy Mills. That's the name. Came to me. So Billy Mills look up Billy Mills' story and check out the videos. I think they're available on YouTube. Billy Mills was an average at best runner, and he made it to the Olympics like barely. He was like an alternate. And I mean, he was a runner. I mean, he ran, right? But he was not the best runner in the world by any means. But he read this book. I don't know if it was Cybernetics or if it was some other book, but there was a quote in the book that he kind of modeled his life after, which was that whatever the mind consistently thinks and experiences, the body will reproduce. Like you will manifest that in reality, right? And people like to think like it's the whole secret thing, or you watch a secret movie, it's like you just have to think it once and it's like it magically appears. That is not at all accurate if you haven't noticed. I mean, if you want to try it, go outside tonight, look up at the stars and scream and visualize to the stars like what you want and watch how slowly or quickly that actually manifests. It just doesn't work, okay? But what does work is you for years and years and years, every day, think and experience and reproduce and visualize the thing that you are attempting to manifest, the thing that you want to experience in your life and create in reality, it gets manifested. And we see that all around us all the time, especially in technology and science, if not in other areas as well, right? So that's just creating a belief, which is an operational substitute for real life experience, and then creating it over and over and over again. And what happened with Billy Mills is he would visualize thousands of times a week him winning the gold medal, right? Like the last lap and exactly how it would go, and he just kept like training his brain to believe this is what's going to happen, right? And then the Olympics comes along, and he's at the back of the line, the back of the pack, so to speak. Last lap, boom, he said the conditioning kicked in. He passes everybody, wins the gold medal. Everyone is freaking out. They can't believe it because Mills wasn't physically capable of actually causing that to happen. But he physically transformed in that moment. I mean, he was somewhat capable, but he did what he did not because of just training, not because just what he was the fastest, he was the strongest, but because he saw that. It was the belief that created that over time again in his unconscious mind. So now, two final pieces here, and then we'll let you go today. You're going to watch in the live training sessions, you're going to actually watch me provide coaching to you and others in the certification training. And part of this is so that you connect the dots. Because if all you got are these dots, you don't know what the picture actually is, right? You got to be able to connect those dots. You can't see this with just a bunch of dots there, right? You need to be able to connect those dots. So part of connecting the dots is having an intellectual foundation. And then secondly, it's a matter of seeing it actually happen. You can say, wow, I knew the dots, but now that I can see how it all comes together. You could read a recipe or you can actually cook the food. My wife read the recipe. She said, I could do that. And then she didn't. She was like, oh my gosh, it's mush. Okay, I got to boil it down. I got to do this. She had to do all this stuff that she wasn't planning on that wasn't in the recipe. Why? Because she was connected the dots. She was actually doing it in real life. And you're going to watch that happen in reality beyond just the dots that you set up through the theory of it. Then second, so that even if you're like me, a good parrot, like you just kind of copy what I do, which is what I did for years, you can still win, right? A good parrot is way more winning in the most worlds than a really lousy individual, right? Somebody who's just their own person, but they're really, what they do is kind of lousy. So if you're just a really good parrot of what I do and my technology that I'll share with you and teach you, you're going to win. I can promise you that. And I've seen that again and again and again with our clients, with our students, and with the coaches that have gone on to build, multi-million-dollar practices as well. So, and then finally, so you want to watch this happen so you can learn the language of transformation. So although I'll give you some of that when you're just going through the tutorial videos, you're going to hear a lot more language of transformation from me when we're interacting and when we're working together live. That's where the language really starts to kind of get lit on fire, so to speak. So that's why you got to see this stuff happen. As I mentioned earlier this week, it's a learn, see, do process, and this is what the seeing is really about. So try to be there live, watch the replays if you have to, but really fully participate. It's part of what's mandatory just to get certified, as we talked about, but in addition to that, it's just going to help you connect the dots, win even if you're just a parrot, which is totally fine for a while, and then also to learn the language of transformation, because if you can get the language, the words become flesh, as it says in the Bible. So second, you want to file the assignments. You want to get to work on this stuff. The assignments is really, that's where you're going to be using what you learn. And you'll have connected the dots by now, so you're actually going to get to work, right? So part of this is just like practice, trial and error to some extent. This is where you face some challenges for yourself. You face that shadow self, as I talked about. We all do to some extent. And your successes when you do this, when you actually get to work, they are never forgotten. When you have that first moment where you cause a breakthrough with a client and their life is different, or their business is different, or their body is different, or their relationship is different as a result of what you did, what you triggered, how you talked to them, the questions that you asked, the processes that you facilitated, you'll never forget that. And the juice of that will get you. You'll always want more. That's a positive addiction that'll put you on probably a similar mission to the mission that I'm on as well, because you won't want to let go of that. And you want to pass that on to others. And my hope is that others will catch that bug as well. And we have an entire world that's, it is a reflection of the domino effect that you set in motion, that you and I set in motion by that excitement and the joy and the beauty of seeing someone transform, that you had a chance to dance with and to set them on a new path in their life. That was a cause set in motion that creates a ripple effect throughout humanity and throughout probably eternity to some extent as well. That's a divine privilege. That is profound. And when you experience that profundity, you're gonna want more. And you're gonna get excited about this, and you're gonna master it eventually. Just as a result of that, your successes are never forgotten. And then finally, really want to learn this stuff. Real learning is behavior change, as it says here. If you just learn something theoretically, you didn't really learn. You change your behavior and you're behaving different, the way you'll talk to somebody as a coach. You're operating differently with your clients. That's learning. I will go over and over and over again and review again and again different types of frameworks for coaching, not because I don't know this stuff. I've watched my own tutorials 5-10 times. I'm the one that created it, okay? I've watched some of my mentors coaching, probably the same coaching session, I don't know, probably 20 times or more, and I've got hundreds of those to watch, right? So we're talking about probably hundreds or thousands of repetitious experiences of me actually kind of absorbing what other coaches and my own frameworks as well actually have created for the world of coaching, our body of work collectively. I'm not doing that because I don't remember it. I'm not doing that because I don't understand the theory. I'm not doing that because I can't remember what he said, right? I'm doing that because I'm trying to get it into my behavior. I'm doing it right around the time that I'm doing a coaching session. And because it's on my mind, because it was a transformational conversation that I'm caught up in right at this moment, I'm triggered to think about it. And guess what? It shows up in my coaching conversations naturally. And all of a sudden I'm using a new approach, a new technique, a new conversational framework. And all of a sudden I get a result with somebody. I'm like, I'm going to do that again. And now I've done it 10, 20 times. And now it's just who I am. That's formulating identity, right? So part of this is to get all of this into your behavior. That's kind of the end of the line. That is the last stop for you on the coach certification train, if you will. Coach certification train. I don't know. Anyway, you get the idea. You're on this train and there is a last stop. And the last stop is behavior change. Last stop is real learning. The last stop is success. And you're going to do that every single week, starting next week, very, very soon. So that's it. That's what it takes to get the most out of your certification. And if you're not on the train yet, still got time to get on it. I mean, we are in the middle of orientation week, but reach out to me. We'll get you on board and make sure that you're taken care of. I have an entire team that can make sure the onboarding process is very smooth. You have a little bit of catch up, so you might be a little behind the first week of training, but I can promise you that it'll be worth it to be on board live with us at this time. And 30 days, less than 30 days, you're gonna have your certification, or at least you'll have passed your requirements, and you'll be receiving your certificate very shortly. And here's the thing: it's not about getting certified, although I know for a lot of people it is, and I can totally appreciate that and empathize, because like when I got one of those piece of paper back there, it's like they signify something. They signify something I've been through in my life. They signify a rite of passage. They signify some mastery that I've attained. It's good to remember what that is. It's good to be able to share that with other people as well, so they know that I'm not just some spring chicken. I've like done this a couple times, right? I've done it with a level of mastery where I've got probably 3 or 4 times what I have on my back wall available to me if I had wall to put it on, if it really like it was that important to me. But the bottom line is I can appreciate that you're going for the certificate because it does mean something if that's the way you see it. But even beyond that, and like I said, I think more importantly, the mastery that you're going to achieve through just doing what we talked about today to set the stage for certification, what you're going to experience in certification, that will be an experience that you will remember for a very long time, longer than you could probably even imagine. And although I'm sure you have a certain level of kind of limitation for what you believe is possible for who you can be as a coach or what you can provide as a coach right now, which I could totally understand and appreciate. The truth is, with this and you actually following through 100% on this, like I said, for like any area of life nowadays where we can have really no limits, but we don't act that way. If you act like this can blow the limits off of your coaching and the mastery that you can have over yourself, the people that you help, and frankly, your entire life and career, you have no idea what you're capable of. You really, like, just consider that you haven't the foggiest clue as to what's possible for you out of that. Just have no idea. And when you start thinking of that as being a possibility for you, and you start operating as if it's true, like I said, operational substitutes, and then you do that thing and do it and do it and do it, and then you build some muscle and you have some successes that you never forget, and you have real behavioral change, what happens is that you will be a different person. You will be like fundamentally changed as a human being as a result of that, and you'll be able to cause that for others as well. The juice of that, like I said, gets you. Now, that's what's possible. Now, what people usually do is much less than that, which is why I'm having this conversation with you right now. But if you were to defy the odds and you were to work against what probably is likely to occur in the next 4 weeks, magic. Total magic. And that will be profound for all of us, I know. And you'll be a shining example of what's possible, and you will inspire others with your courage and with your accomplishment, and you'll inspire your clients for that matter as well. You got to believe that that's who you could be, though. I don't expect you to believe that's who you are yet. That's part of the training. It's getting that identity, okay? Not expecting that today, but can you at least believe it's possible? Can I get an amen on a possibility at least right now? Can I get that at least? If you can give me that, I got a foot in the door, and we're going to get the rest of the way there. If you believe you're already possibly that person, then you just got to deliver energy. You got to get the work done. You got to follow the coaching that I'm giving you here. I'm not just saying this just for fun to, on my day off to share it for 54 minutes and counting at this point. It's not like I got things I could be doing that would be as enjoyable, if not more enjoyable, than just hanging out here talking to you, right? And I'm totally jazzed to be here as well, right? And it's a privilege for me. But the reason why it is because I'm counting on you to be the breakthrough that I want to see for you and your clients in the world. That's what I count on you to become in this conversation. So yeah, you could do whatever you want, right? But is that really going to get you what is going to be unstoppable for you as a coach mastering this stuff over time? No. No, it's not. So that's why I have to have this conversation with you. Not because, you haven't already done something, you haven't already signed up. I know you've already paid your dues just to be here. And I totally acknowledge you for that. That's gotten you to an amazing place to be in this conversation. I mean, hopefully you get that acknowledgement, because there's a lot of people who wouldn't be caught dead in this environment because haven't gotten the means for it, or they wish they could but they think they can't, or they're scared, or a million other excuses, a million other, really frankly, legitimate reasons why as well. You're here. So I got to talk to you. And the bottom line is, what's possible for you and what was likely to happen are usually two different things. And the only reason is because you haven't fully committed to do whatever it takes to get across that finish line. to actually have the successes that you would never forget. That's it. And if you're just committed to do whatever it takes, hey, the rest of your life is going to be fine. But be willing to make that commitment and believe it's possible. You got to put energy in, you got to do the work, and then we'll get to celebrate together in about 4 weeks when we're in commencement. You're receiving your certification, and we're acknowledging you for having mastered some aspects of these disciplines of coaching and integrating it together and flat delivering for your clients, for us, and for the world. So that's what I need from you for this mission to really come true, and for me to make sure that I can fulfill on my promise to you as well, because I'm committed to that. So not an easy conversation to have, but it's one that I really appreciate you listening to, because like I said, it's many are called and few are chosen, and there's not everybody that's willing to actually even be a part of that conversation. So no matter what happens, I know this is going to be an amazing journey for you, and I'll look forward to talking to you in a day or two when we talk about the coach's journey. Any questions about this? Any issues with anything that we just talked about? Just reach out to me. And by the way, if you got something from this experience, even if you're not in training and you're seeing this, especially on like YouTube, share this with your fellow leaders and your fellow coaches and your fellow healers and your fellow workers that are really out there trying to make a difference for people, so we can actually accomplish our vision. And you know, when you just do nothing but like a like and a comment on these frameworks, it actually helps the algorithm actually share this with others to make a difference for them. And I'll be so grateful if you do that. And on top of that, if you subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell. These daily live streams, when I actually go live, you're actually going to get notified for that, so you can actually see them ongoingly, whether or not you're in the training. And then I think that's everything. Yeah. Oh, and duh. And then if you're not in the training yet, reach out to me. Let me know that you want to be in it, and I'll let you know what it takes to do that, so you can get on board, because the train is leaving the station in just another day or two. I will talk to you then. See you in training. Take care.